Going today then with Iryan Brooks, who is a gold European IBJJF champion and a bronze world medalist as well. We've just been chatting before I pressed record, and he's been training since he's 4 years old. He's now 19, so that is amazing. He trains at Total BJJ, which I'm now training at. And seeing the way that he moves and the way that he controls the mat, and he looks so chill about it as well. He's like the smiling assassin every time, just tapping people out left, right, and centre. It's awesome. So, Iryan, thank you for coming onto the podcast, buddy. I really appreciate it. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me on, man. Really
That's
excited.
all right. Yeah, it's cool. It's your first podcast, yeah?
It is.
Perfect. I'm sure it'll be the first of many because I think you're going to be a bit of a superstar in jiu-jitsu. So it's going to be cool, man. It's going to be cool. Let's go right back to the start, if that's all right, and talk about your kind of beginnings in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Like I said, you started when you were 4 years old, which is crazy, and then you're now 19 years old. So yeah, what made you get started, and how was your first class, if you can remember all those years back?
Well, as like most kids, I think like your parents just put you in different clubs and stuff. And then my dad was always like a massive martial arts fan. He like loved jiu-jitsu, MMA. He was in like different martial arts forums. So then he heard like Professor Victor, who's like a Brazilian like world champion, no gi. He's like medaled at the biggest comps in the world. When he heard he was coming to Nottingham to like open up an academy, he like just threw me and my brother in whilst we were young. And then I think we just loved it from like day one.
Amazing. Did your dad train as well?
He doesn't know. He's done like different stuff over the years, like bits and bobs, but no, he doesn't train at the moment. But I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
I was going to say, keep it within the family.
Definitely.
Awesome. And what was your first class like then? Was it kind of like, yeah, how does it work with the kids now? Because obviously you teach kids, don't you? As well now at Total BJJ. So obviously having that progression from you being a kid, going all the way up to like as you are now and now teaching the kids, that's a pretty cool progression. So yeah, how did you find it? Was it something you naturally took to, do you think?
It took a while. I think, like, you know, as you're a kid, you remember the parts that you love, the parts that were a bit hard or you didn't enjoy as much. So I just tried to bring the elements that I enjoyed to like the teaching as well. But it definitely helps. I'd say like when I first started, I was relatively young, like assisting with the kids' classes. I was always like good with the kids because I was a kid as well, which helped.
Yeah.
But then my teaching ability wasn't actually that great. And it took a while for me to actually get started to like helping out the kids, making sure that I was teaching the right way. And then obviously still not perfect, but it's like slowly getting better and better. And that's definitely like the thing that I enjoy the most about jiu-jitsu, like the coaching, because it just reminds me of when I was that age and thinking, oh, one day I want to be a coach. So it's really like full circle moments.
So you were in it like from the start then, do you think? You were like, yeah, this is what I want to do. I want to coach. I want to compete. Like, was that always at the forefront of your mind, even when you were like 4 or 5 years old just starting?
I would say, yeah, maybe like, but for a long time I was playing football as well. So
Okay.
maybe I got to like 10 and I was like, one day I'm going to have to make a decision. Do I want to go like full-time football, full-time jiu-jitsu? But at that point, I didn't realize like the level I needed to be at football. I really wasn't like anything special by any means. But it was always like in the back of my mind, like, okay, jiu-jitsu is like going to be a career for me, especially because, like I mentioned, I was already teaching. I saw like the path that my coaches had taken, and it was always like a realistic like dream for me. And my parents always like made sure to remind me of, I can do whatever I want, within reason. So I was very lucky in that sense.
Yeah, that's amazing. Do the rest of your family train, or are you the only jiu-jitsu player?
So my brother trains. He's like got his A levels at the moment, so he's not able to train as much. My sister, she's doing GCSEs as well, so she's not able to train as much now. But my brother's a blue belt. He's just turned 18 last month, and my sister, she's 16. I think just about to turn 16. And yeah, I might get in trouble there. And she's like a yellow and white belt. So they've both been training for years. Like I said, I started with my brother, and they're both beasts, man. I'm just trying to get them to come back, ignore the exams, and just get back to training.
Yeah, where's your priorities?
I know. That's what
Yeah,
you
who
say,
needs
isn't it?
GCSEs? You need roles, man. You need roles.
Exactly.
What age did you start assisting then with the kids' classes?
I was probably about 10 or 11. I
Oh, okay,
think.
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't actually remember that. Like the first, obviously, I don't really remember the first time I did the first class or stuff like that. But I remember like the first time I was coaching. Like there was a missing coach, and then the woman on the desk asked me if I wanted to start hopping because they needed somebody, and I said yes. And then they asked, "How did you find it?" I was like, "Oh, it's great. I'd love to do it again." And then from there, they was like, "Okay, yeah, you could come down and start teaching a bit more often." So yeah, probably about 11 years old. 11.
Fantastic. And in terms of your competition, then, when was like the first time you competed and decided to compete? Was it something that your coaches pushed you into, or was it something that you were like, yeah, I really want to go for a competition now? And like, how did that work?
If I'm honest, I'm not like super sure. I was like,
Mhm.
I probably guess I was maybe like 5 or 6.
Okay.
It was like the English Open, and then I fought like different divisions. So in the end, I came away with like 2 golds and a silver. But the one I lost was brutal. Again, I don't really remember it, but I just remember being upset. But as my like dad tells me, I like got hip throwed by some kid. And he did an armbar on me. Like match was over in like 20 seconds. So
Oh,
that
really?
was like a very very rough start to the competing game. But like even just having like 3 medals and taking it to school the next day, like being able to show off to my friends, that was like a like one of the first things that maybe like really pushed to train even more, you know.
Yeah, that's such a cool thing, obviously, for the kids to have like a medal, or if you do another martial arts, like a certificate or a belt or
Exactly.
whatever it is, just to be like, okay, look, I'm progressing, I'm doing something cool here. And yeah, it's an important aspect, I think. Did you
Yeah.
enjoy competing at the start? I know you were young, so it's like
Mhm.
it's a thing. But
Um,
did you enjoy it? Do you think, or was the pressure on, or did you enjoy the pressure?
I always wanted to compete, but I was like ridiculously nervous all the time. Like one day in the British Open, I threw up in the car before I fought. I was always like super, super nervous, and even up until recently, like I'd be shaking. My knees would be shaking on the way to the tournament. So I really, really didn't like the experience of doing it, but I always wanted to do it. And then like after the fight, the overwhelming like emotion was just relief. Like okay,
Yeah,
it's over now. I've got my medal. I can go home. Or I've lost. I don't have to worry about this. I can eat what I want now. So I look forward to it, but I was always so nervous.
yeah, such that adrenaline rush and then that adrenaline dump after, where it's like, ah, and then you're exhausted, and then it's like, right, okay, yeah, it's all over now. But either I've medaled
Exactly.
and I've got something great, I've learned from it, or I've lost and I've still learned from it. So time to move on to the
Yeah.
next one. Yeah, yeah, cool. In terms of your jiu-jitsu then, so how do you kind of see your game playing out? Most people have like a bit of a game, don't they? You're obviously super athletic and seeing you move around the mat, you're like a little whirling Tasmanian devil, just like going around. Like, it's cool to watch. It's really, really cool to watch, like the
Thank
funny,
you.
funny
Thank you.
rolls you're doing. So when did that start evolve? Was that a natural thing for you? Have you always been quite athletic? It seems like your family's quite heavily martial arts and sporty and things like that. And like you've been quite sporty. So yeah, did that athleticism come naturally to you?
I would say a little bit, yeah. Just from like always doing sports from a young age, I was always like relatively mobile. And then having a brother, we'd always like play with each other, fight each other sometimes. It's like just running around being crazy just helps. And then like my parents are quite athletic. My mum used to run like half marathons. My dad, he that did sports growing up and even like into his like adult life. So I think the athleticism was always there to some extent, but I think it really started coming through when I was like moved up to the adult class because obviously I was a bit younger, by far the weakest, and technically I was like high level than some of the white belts, maybe some of the blue belts. But it was like for me it was impossible to beat them in my mind anyway because I was like, oh, these guys are so much stronger. But then eventually I started like figuring out, okay, maybe I can use my speed a little bit, and obviously they'll be nice to me. They could have just grabbed me and threw me onto the ground, but started trying to like use my speed a bit more and my movement, and then that's where it like sort of unlocked a different part of my game. I was like, okay, this is like one of my main strengths. So that even to this day, I still try to use that, especially against bigger guys. Like I'm never gonna be able to match them physically, but I feel like I can push the pace a bit. Be more athletic, more agile, and then bring like the more exciting style to the game.
Yeah, 100%. And that was obviously a big thing with like BJJ, where originally it was meant for like the smaller person, wasn't it?
Exactly.
Especially where it's like, someone that's smaller can overcome someone that's bigger using the right
Mhm.
technique, using the right kind of physics and the right mechanics and things like that, and just finding that gap. But you've been through the journey. For white belts, it's horrible. Like,
Yeah,
no,
it's
I've been
not
there
fun.
too. Like, you're in mount, you're just like, I cannot move, or you're in side control, you're trying to find an
Mhm.
opening somewhere. There's just nothing. You're just getting pressure, 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 pressure.
Yes.
So, like for any kind of white belts now that are maybe just starting their BJJ journey, or even kind of like higher up white belts going to blue belts, something like that still
Mhm.
happens. Even purple belt, you're still going to get caught at some point. So,
Of course.
um, what's your kind of advice for people that are just starting out, maybe on their BJJ journey, to kind of keep that? What's the word? To not lose hope, I suppose, and just be like, I suck at this. I'm having a session today where I'm just like, no, I'm just getting tapped left, right, and center.
Yes.
Can't move, nothing's working for me. We'll drill it in class. I can't figure anything out because I'm saying this because this is me right now. This is just a selfish interview for me.
Yeah, it's not an easy journey, but I'd say like first, massive respect to anybody that tries anything new. You know, especially in like your adult life, it's like it's not an easy thing to do at all. So that's like massive respect to everyone that does that. But I'd say it's just part of the process, like anything. You know, if you throw yourself in the deep end, like around the sparring with someone that's been doing something for 3 months and you've been doing it for zero like days, it's obviously going to be hard. But like the learning curve at the start will be so fast. Like I guarantee, from like compared to when you start, your knowledge is like way like better. You know so much more already. You like game's already stronger, so like the difference that 6 months can make is massive. So I'd say don't like judge jiu-jitsu or your development based off like one day. You
Yeah.
gotta like actually consistently put time in, and I think that's like where a lot of people sort of go wrong. They do their trial class, I think this is not for me. But imagine like the thousands of people that have like quit jiu-jitsu in the first month or so. Even like 1% of those guys could have ended up loving it and wanting to do it full time or wanting to do it after their 9 to 5. And there's like numerous like cases of that. Like parents like push their kids. I see it all the time. Like the kids don't really want to do it, but their parents are like, okay, just try it for another couple months.
Yeah.
And then within like a year's time, the kids are loving it. They're like running around on the mats, they're screaming, they're having fun. Like some of them are like prodigies already. So I'd say to like anyone that is like struggling or a bit hesitant with like continuing jiu-jitsu, just hang in there, give it even a few weeks, and then see how you go.
Yeah, yeah, perfect. Great stuff. Obviously, you've got an amazing kind of coaching team behind you at Total BJJ now. You said about, obviously, it was Victor, who you started with, and then now you've got Sean, who's like 8 times medalist in the British and stuff like that. I think we've got him on in a couple of weeks, actually, to chat to him as well.
Hey,
And
nice.
cool. So how did your relationship with like Victor evolve, and then how did your relationship with like Sean evolve, and where is it now? And yeah, how did that all kind of come about?
Well, I think like naturally, seeing like a black belt on the mats, or just a coach in general is like so inspiring. So when growing up being taught under Victor was like super cool. He's always like a big inspiration to me. Whenever like he'd like talk to me or show me something, that would just stick in my mind instantly. And my dad could tell me something, I'd be like, oh yeah, whatever, dad. And then Victor could tell me the exact same thing, I'd be like, oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
that
yeah,
makes sense.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So he's like a big inspiration to me. He's helped me out like throughout the years, and even though like he's in Portugal now and it's like different journeys, now it's like still super like grateful for like, everything he's done for me. And then Sean, he's been there since I'm not even sure how old I was, but super young, definitely like below the age of 10,
Okay.
maybe like 7 years old. And then he's probably put like the most hours into me, or out of all my coaches, I mean.
Yeah.
So he's like been there since pretty much day one. He's helped me out for like all because like in jiu-jitsu like so many like different stages of like your career, or your growth. It's like you know trying to be like one of the best in the kids classes, trying to push yourself that way, and then trying to take competitions more seriously, then trying to go full time. And I like in jiu-jitsu and out of jiu-jitsu, he's helped me out so much with all those things.
Yeah.
So he's like probably had the biggest impact on my jiu-jitsu. And I can say that for like he's done that for like loads of other people.
Sure.
All the full-time competitors I'm sure would say the exact same thing,
Yeah.
that he's invested so much time in them, he's helped them out. And even like the people that aren't full-time competitors, the people that don't compete at all will like attest to how great a coach he is, how great a guy he is, and how much he's helped people. And it is important to remember that, a lot of the time, yeah, I'd be like successes or your downfalls, and you make it by yourself. But it's very important to remember like how good the people around you are, and he's definitely like up there as like the most influential people for everyone in our academy, if not the most influential person.
Amazing. Yeah, yeah. I think it's really good that you're like as you say, you're making your own accomplishments now, and you're starting to kind of skyrocket with it. But you've always got to go back to kind of like, as you say, that 7-year-old that didn't really know much, and
Yes,
then it's like, okay, yeah, I need to still highlight my coaches and the people that brought me up. So I think that's
exactly.
awesome you've done that. What was it like for you then, kind of stepping up from the kids class into the adult class? Because I can imagine that was quite a big jump when you work
Mhm.
just with the kids and you're the big fish in the little pond, and then
Yeah.
suddenly you go into the adult class, and then suddenly it's like, oh shit, now I'm like the little fish in a big pond. This is a bit of a change now. So how did you
Yes.
adapt to that, adjust to it? Did it change your jiu-jitsu?
Mm, It definitely changed my jiu-jitsu, 100%. I would say there's a few things like I had my brother with me. Like he's a year and a half younger, but like we're always similar size, similar level. So that was like a massive help. We were doing like the fundamental classes together and like super basic techniques that we were fairly comfortable with. But that was like the perfect introduction for us because it sort of bridges the gap between like advanced kids and advanced adults.
Yeah.
So that was great, like having each other to train with, and like all the coaches were like super like caring towards us. They knew that okay, it can be a bit intimidating sometimes, but also like we were super excited to be in the adult class anyway. It was like super cool, even like it was a class full of white belts. We were like, oh, this is so cool. The level's so high here. This and
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
So it was always like super super exciting. And then when we started going to the advanced classes, that was even more exciting, but obviously way more challenging because that's when we started getting mixed with like the adults and stuff.
yeah.
And as I said earlier, every single person in that class was like super nice to us. Nobody was like tapping us over and over. They were always like letting us work our stuff. So that was like a massive, massive help. But for me, the main challenge was like trying to overcome the strength like barrier because, as I said earlier, that's like mainly in my mind. There was no reason why I couldn't actually have a good round with them, but I'd always make excuses for myself. And then once you do well against maybe like a one strike white belt, so be like, okay, maybe I can do it against a three strike white belt, and then you do that, and you go with the blue belts and purple belts, and then you start building yourself up. So for me, the main thing was like realizing that I can have a decent round. I might not be able to tap them, I might not even be able to like beat them on points or anything, but I can have a good round with them, and it just took a while to remember that, or to realize that.
Yeah, 100%. What advice then would you give to people that we kind of touched on this a little bit, but for white belts that are just starting out,
Mhm.
what advice would you give in terms of like the technique and what they should focus on if they're just, I don't know, maybe in their first 6 months to a year of training in jiu-jitsu? What should be the focus for them? Should they look at kind of just breaking down the technique and then positional sparring? Should they look at more rolling? Should they focus on takedown? Should they focus on like a guard game? Or what do you think?
That's a good question. I would say like trying to understand the goal from each position, and that sounds like a super simple thing. Obviously, if you're in bottom mount, you want to escape, but like, what actually do you need to escape? Right, you need good frames. You need to make sure you're safe at all times. You need to make sure that you create space so your legs can come in the way. So for me, understanding what to do from each position, or what the goal is, or what they want and what I want, helps me the most. But everyone has their own like style of learning. Some people like to visually see, okay, let me see what the two higher grades are doing here so I can understand it. Some people want to be thrown in the deep end and just be stuck in bottom out and figure it out for themselves.
Yeah,
But I think trying to understand each position, and then also from there you like see what your game is. Okay, maybe a top game isn't for me because I know that I need to close the space really tight and get to side control. So okay, that because you realize what you need to do, you can sort of figure out your own game, what you like, what you don't like so much, and what your weaknesses are as well.
sure. Okay, awesome. Um, let's talk about your competitions then as an adult. So obviously you competed as a kid. What was it like competing as an adult for the first time? And when was the first time you competed, kind of in the adult category, I suppose?
So in like jiu-jitsu, you have the kids division, then you have the juvenile division and the adult division.
Yeah.
So the juvenile is like only like 16 and 17 year
Okay.
olds. So and because that's only blue belts, that kind of prepare me a little bit for the adults.
Yeah.
Obviously, no one's as like physically developed as the adults, but the rules change like suddenly you can do foot locks and stuff like that.
Okay.
So the juvenile division helps a lot. And then when I did eventually move up to the adult division, I felt like I was ready,
Yeah.
because I've been trained with adults for a while. At that point, I felt like okay, I set the expectation for myself that I should. There's no excuse for me now. I've been training longer than a lot of the blue belt adults, or than all of them, I'd say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I should realistically be doing better than I was in the juvenile division. And then that was the case for a lot of the competitions. But then at like the maybe like European Championships, the first two Euros I did at blue belt at adults, like didn't go very well. Went out first round both times, but I think in my head, I knew it wasn't like as much as skill of a skill issue as I thought it might be. It was just like a matter of time for me to like start being more competitive in the adult division. Um, but it's just one of those things. It's like bad experience, like in the earlier competitions at adults. But I definitely needed like a few losses at adult blue belt, especially in the bigger competitions,
Yeah.
to like push me a bit more because it's easy to coast a little bit, especially I had my A levels going on, so I wasn't able to train all the time.
Sure.
I had to take a few months off, but I definitely needed like a kick up the backside to like push myself more, and then that definitely prepared me for like the gap year where I started going full time. And it's what I needed. A few losses of adult blue belt.
How do you take the losses? Are you quite well? Yeah, obviously you're quite a competitive person, but do you take loss well, or was it a bit?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, was it like, okay, I'm going to come back, I'm going to learn from it, or were you like, ugh? Like,
Yeah. I'd say I take it all right. I'm not gonna lie. I try not to let it affect me too much. I think the most annoying part is where I've done something silly and I know I could have done better. It's like, okay, I can't be doing that. But then, over time I've realized if like what's punishing myself could I do? It's just a matter of getting better. And you hear these things all the time, like, oh, you need to lose so you can learn and stuff like that. But it never really clicks until you've done it a few times, until you've lost a few fights. So I'd say I've definitely matured in the fact that I can take it really well. Even as a kid, like I'd be upset after a fight, but then the next day I'd be completely fine. But
back on the
as
map,
I started, say again.
back on the map, go again.
Exactly, back on the mat, back to work. But as I've matured, it's just trying to take more lessons away from it. So recently at the Pan Ams, I went out second round, and then I was like upset for like the first hour after the fight, like not like overly upset, but I could have done better, could have done this. But then like we went out the arena, I saw the sun again. I was like, you know what? Like, let me just enjoy the rest of my holiday.
Yeah,
And then you get back to the UK, you watch the fights over, you plan what you need to do better. I talked to my coach on a little bit on the day as well, and you just realize it's literally just a competition. It's the reason I'm doing this is so I can get better at jiu-jitsu. So that's just a focus for me to try and actually get better.
yeah, perfect. What was it like traveling then for the first time to kind of go to your competitions, things like that? Because you just said about the Pan Ams, which must have been an amazing experience.
Yes,
Had you travelled like out of the country to compete before then?
I did. Yeah. So as a kid, we went to like different like Naga competitions, which is like
Yeah.
like company that do like competition and
Yeah.
stuff. And it was great because we all went as a family. It was more like a holiday. And then whilst we're on holiday, we were making sure we weren't eating like loads of crap or anything. And then we'll just go and do a competition. So that was like a good way of sort of like easing myself into the comps. And because it wasn't like a super, super big competition, because we were just kids as well, it wasn't like super intimidating. So by the time Euros came around for the first time, it wasn't like anything crazy for me. Obviously, the nerves are bigger. Everything's like scaled up a little bit more. But I'd already been there, like to like a smaller extent. So it wasn't as intimidating as it might seem.
Yeah, perfect. Where was the Euros? The first one that you went to?
First one was in Paris,
Ah, no, it's not a
and
bad
the
little
second
trip.
one, and then the recent one, the third one, was in Lisbon.
Okay, yeah, not a nice, yeah, not a bad little trip, eh?
It's great. Yeah, yeah.
Happy days.
That's not the best part about it. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, traveling, meeting new people, getting new experiences and stuff like that. Yeah, 100%. I
exactly.
can imagine.
Mhm.
Um, what was it like then making the shift from kind of in your mind and physically like a part-time jiu-jitsu practitioner to then jumping into full-time and being like, right, I want to do this full-time, I want to compete as much as I can, I need to train harder. There was obviously a physical shift there, I'd imagine, and then also a bit of a mindset shift too, of being
Mhm.
like kind of a, people get it now, it's like the hobbyist jiu-jitsu, and then the right, I really want to go for this now and I want to compete and get as high as I can, and this is this. So yeah, the mindset and the physical side of it. What was that like for switching?
Uh, I think I prepared myself like all throughout A levels for my gap year. I knew like, okay, I'm gonna have a gap year after I finish my A levels, and that's gonna be a test to see whether I can or want to like go full time jujitsu. So like throughout all of my studies, I was like, okay, I can't wait for this gap year. Like just one, not having to go to school, and two, actually being able to do jujitsu all day.
Yeah,
So like mentally, I was ready to do it, and also like physically, the training like wasn't really really intense from the start. I was training like a couple times a day, in the morning, then at night, in the morning, then at night. So I had time to recover, and then I had like time in the middle of the day to chill.
yeah,
I had to teach a couple classes and a couple privates every day, or maybe one private, two classes every day. So if I'm honest, it wasn't like super crazy, especially like when you see people around you like doing 9 to 5s. They got like 3 kids, and then they come to jujitsu later on, like
yeah,
at
yeah,
night. It's like, man, when you ask them about their day, they've had like their exactly,
yeah, yeah.
exactly. They've had like such a stressful day, and then I've like done maybe one training session before that, and then chilled at home, like get my grandma to make me some food or something. So I was in like no place to complain.
Sure.
But then like that's obviously definitely evolved now, like training much more, training like working harder, and anytime it does get really hard, I do have to remind myself that, it's not like the worst job in the world by any means. It's like this is a dream.
Yeah, 100%. As you said, you could be working 9 to 5 and doing this, whatever, sat at a desk. At least you're moving
Yes,
around all the time and doing something you love. So,
100%,
yeah,
100%.
good. Let's talk strength and conditioning then. So, what's your strength and conditioning kind of look like at the moment? Because jiu-jitsu is such a different fitness that you need. I think obviously attributes like strength, stamina, endurance, all that, but it's the same with all martial arts. Like, because I teach, we've had people come in that are like marathon runners, and then you get them smashing the pads for like 3 minutes, and they're on their ass, and they're just like,
Yes.
ah. And then
Mhm.
it's the same thing. Like, you can get people that are used to kickboxing, like myself or JKD
Mhm.
or whatever, and then you put them on their
Yes.
back for 3 minutes, and you're just like, oh my god, like it's just a
Yeah.
completely different level of fitness again. So,
Yes.
what did your strength, or what does your strength and conditioning kind of program look like now?
At the moment, it's like working on maximal strength.
Yeah,
So I get my program done by a guy called MJ, who's at Total. He's a brown belt. He's worked with he still works with like the UK Olympic team,
cool.
with GB, Team GB. He's like super, super decorated. He's like one of the best sports scientists in the UK. So I'm super, super lucky to have him like sponsoring me and helping me out with my gym and stuff. So at the moment, just maximal strength. Like no more than like 8 reps in most exercises.
Okay, so heavy.
Because
Yeah,
exactly
yeah.
heavy weights or not so heavy weights compared to everyone else, but for
Yeah,
me it's heavy weights. And then because like you said, like jiu-jitsu is like a completely different type of fitness, so I get all the cardio that I really need. I get all the like the muscular endurance that I need for my weight division. So it's just a matter of actually trying to build a maximal strength and trying to increase those like 1 rep maxes or like the lift the heavy weights. So that's the focus at the moment.
and would you say that's a good focus for people that are just getting into jiu-jitsu as well, that are maybe looking to compete in the future? Should they
Mhm.
focus on like lifting heavier, smaller reps and then getting
Mhm.
their cardio in through rolls?
I'll say I'm no expert, but
Yeah,
for
yeah,
me, that's what's helped definitely. Yeah, the, there's no fitness like jiu-jitsu fitness. As you mentioned, you'll have like marathon runners coming in that like struggling all the time. Different martial artists that are struggling as well.
yeah,
So I think the main base of your fitness, if you're doing jiu-jitsu, should be jiu-jitsu,
yeah.
and then anything on top of that, like anything extra, is just great. It's like a bonus, But maximal strength, I'd suggest definitely.
Yeah, 100%. Let's talk there about winning golds at the
Yeah.
Europeans. So,
Yes.
talk about that whole experience for me. When was it to start with? It wasn't that long
It
ago, was
was
it?
no, it was like end of January.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So, what was the run up like to kind of compete? And then, did your training go up a notch in terms of that, or were you just kind of doing what you were doing anyway because you're already training hard? And then, what was it like to kind of get on the mat there at the Europeans and then get the hand lifted? Boom, got the gold.
Yes. The training like stayed pretty much the same. I was already training quite a lot. It's just a focus of training changed.
Mm,
So like in the competition classes, it's like a lot harder, like more intense. Every like the atmosphere was like a bit more like serious,
right.
because obviously we know what we're leading up to. And then there was like less experimentation for me. So like ordinarily in training, I like stand up, do some takedowns and stuff like that. But then for the comp, it was like all right, only work on my A game, just try and sharpen everything up, work on my weaknesses as well and like trying to fill in the gaps for the Euros. So everything that you're doing in the gym or in training, drilling, sparring, it's just purely like focused on Euros. And then like as it got closer and closer, I started like thinking about more like the game plan, what I wanted to do, how the fights would go, and then also started believing more that I could win it. Because as I mentioned, the first 2 years at Euros weren't great. I
Mm,
think technically like some of the guys that medaled in my division I'd have beat before. I thought I was like on par with them.
yeah.
So technically, I thought I should have done better in previous years, but like when this year's came around, I felt like ready and like obviously the nerves were incredible, but I sort of like knew in the back of my mind that I had a high chance of like winning or medaling if I was on my A game.
Yeah.
And then for me, that was like all it came down to, making sure I'm sharp on the day, making sure that no mistakes, because I think I've done like really really good prep before that.
Perfect. Sounds good. And then what's kind of like the plan now? Because obviously you did the Worlds as well. When was the Worlds?
Worlds was last year, May, I think, end of May.
And you got bronze in that one, yeah?
I did, yeah.
Good. So how did that match go?
That was good. So I lost in the semis,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I wasn't very happy with the refereeing decision.
Okay. Yeah.
So like afterwards, I was gutted. As soon as I got off the mats, I just sat down, like breathing heavily. My coach was like, "Oh man, you definitely deserve to win that fight."
Hmm.
And then I got to call my family, and then like after a while, they just cheered me up, as usual. So I wasn't very happy with the way it finished, but obviously it's always like within my control to a certain extent. If I had been much better at jiu-jitsu, I would have won the fight, no matter what the referee had done or no matter what the other guy had done. So at the end of the day, it does come down to my technical ability, of course. But like for the first like hour or so, it was like hard to take because like obviously you're so close to winning. It's
Sure.
like two more wins and you got gold. But like I look back at it in like a good way. It's like my first major medal in the adult division.
Yeah.
So it was good like to kickstart things, and it just reassured me as well that I knew I could, compete with anyone around the world. Because obviously, world championships, you're fighting people from Brazil, America,
Yeah. Yeah.
wherever they are. So that was like important for me to build my confidence, and then I think, honestly, without that, I don't think I would have won Euros because like my
Okay.
mindset completely shifted after that, and I was so motivated. Like that's the best thing about comps. Like if you look at anybody that's done any sort of competition, the motivation you get before it and afterwards, no matter whether you win or lose, is crazy.
Yeah.
It definitely helps.
Yeah. Perfect. That's interesting what you said about like the refereeing and how
Mhm.
obviously like you. If I'm teaching boxing or if I'm teaching kickboxing and we've got people competing, I'm always like, don't leave it in the ref's hands. Like, try and finish if you
Yes,
can, like in some way. Is
exactly.
that always what you're going for as well? You're looking for the finish whenever you're competing?
100%, yeah. So I like pans. I was up like 20 something nil in man. I saw there was like 30 seconds left, and I wanted the submission. And obviously, there's nothing really that can make me lose a fight. I'm not gonna like concede loads of points in 30 seconds, and because I was in like a dominant position, it wasn't like I was gonna get submitted or anything. But I always like want to finish my opponent, especially like if I'm dominating the fight, there's no reason why I can't submit them. Obviously, there's fights where it's like very, very hard to submit your opponent. If you're fighting like one of the world's best, it
Mm.
might not be like super realistic for you to just tap them at will. But if I feel like okay, I'm doing well in this fight, I'm always going to push for the submission. But there's like a fine line between doing that and then being reckless and losing positions. So I think that's also one of the main parts of my game I need to improve, like being tactical.
Yeah,
Not doing silly things. Sometimes you don't need to go for the submission. At the end of the day, I'd rather win, on points than lose because I went for a submission.
yeah,
So it's just like playing with those things in my mind and
a balancing
just
act,
going
I
through
suppose, isn't it?
experience. Yes.
Yeah, cool. You are now then a Progress Jiu Jitsu ambassador. Yeah, is that correct?
Yes.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about Progress Jiu Jitsu then? Get a little plug in for them.
Mhm.
Why not?
Yes. Well, I've always been like a massive fan of Progress.
Yeah.
And for a while, I was like part of Gracie Baja, which meant I wasn't like able to be like sponsored by any external brands. But then as soon as we left, looking at buying new gis, and I got a few cheap gis, but I was like, okay, I love Progress. Hopefully, one day I can be sponsored by them. And then after Euros, they and another brand, like another big jiu-jitsu brand, approached me. But like it wasn't really a massive question for me. Like Progress is like probably in my opinion the best brand, exactly top top top.
Yeah.
uh Not just like the actual quality of the clothing and the gis, but like if you look at the social media, it's amazing. If you look at what they're doing, like recently they did like a kumite, so like a big like
Mm.
grappling tournament where like the loads of athletes could win money. And there's not many other brands doing stuff like that, so I'm just a massive fan of them. They've been great to me so far as well, and then I definitely like look forward to working with them more in the future.
Yeah, amazing, cool. We've got a couple of questions then from people.
Hey, let's do it.
The
Let's
first
do it.
one is, what are your top three favorite takedowns? So going from standard,
Ooh.
are you a guard puller? Are you a takedowner? What are your top three ways to get onto the ground?
So I'm definitely Garpolo in competitions.
Yeah.
There's no hiding from that. But in like training, I love like standing up, especially like we got some good wrestlers at the gym, and like just like judoka. This guy's called Matty. He's like beating British champions in judo. Kyle, he's a great like wrestler as well. So I definitely like to stand up a bit. I say top three. Definitely like arm dragon to inside hook takedown.
Yeah.
That's my go-to anytime I go from standing, especially nogi. Ankle pick as well. I'll do that from guard or from standing, like super low risk. And last one,
Good.
probably a takedown from the back clinch.
Yeah.
I'm just a massive fan of like not taking many risks. You won't see me like shooting for double legs
Yeah.
or like you see me go for single leg sometimes, but from standing, I don't like want to compromise myself too much. So ankle pick super low risk, inside hook takedowns like super low risk, and then anything from the back is like relatively safe. If you lose the position, it's not like someone's on your back
Yeah.
or someone's gonna sprawl on you. So low risk takedowns.
Nice, loving it. Moving on from that, we've then got top 3 submissions.
Oh, top three
Yeah.
submissions. Mm, triangle. That's been my go-to since I was a kid.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
and I think like everybody should have like a decent triangle.
Yeah.
It's like super applicable to everyone's game. Armbar is like probably top two most common submissions for me. I recently been playing a lot with knee bars, so that's like a brown belt technique in competition. But obviously in training, like there's a bit of leeway. You can like sort of do what you want as long as your partner's all right with it.
Yeah. Sure.
So I'd say knee bars, especially because it's like quite new and novel to me. I've been loving them at the moment. Really, really fun.
Cool. Awesome. And then finally, the top 5 grapplers in the UK that you think at the moment are like the ones to watch out for, or the ones that
Mhm.
you enjoy watching, like your favourite, yeah, ones to watch when they're competing or train with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll start by saying my jiu-jitsu knowledge is atrocious. Like it's terrible. I've genuinely met people that don't train jiu-jitsu that know way more than me
Yeah.
about that, especially the UK scene. But I say Owen Leg. Oh my days. Owen Lives, he's very, very good.
Yeah.
He's awesome to watch for the heavy guys. For the lighter guys, Owen Jones, he's awesome to watch. Like great submissions. And then obviously after we won ADCC trials, like just put him on the map. But even before that, it was great to watch. Mm, last one, maybe like Ash Williams. I think a lot of the top guys are like Nogi, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So especially in the UK. So I'd say they're probably the top three. But there's loads of up and coming guys, especially at Total.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, it's a high.
loads.
Yeah, it's a high standard of total, which is
Really good.
awesome, even from my limited experience. And obviously, just training there for what six weeks now, I think, or 5 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It's obviously a high level, and there's a good community there as well, which I think is really good.
Just awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm. Definitely.
I was just about to ask something else, and I've completely forgotten it. What are we? Oh, there we go. One more question then from other people that have sent one in. What does the
Mhm.
day look like for you in terms of like a professional BJJ competitor?
If I'm honest, it changes day to day.
Okay.
But like Monday is probably my busiest day. So I'll start off training at 6:30 for like an hour and a half, and then I'll have a break to do like whatever work I need to do for the academy. Just anything really. Maybe make some videos for Instagram, and then the comp class will start at 10 o'clock. So I do comp class for 2 hours. And then again, just training with like the top guys in the country, like super super cool. Sean teaching it as well, it's awesome. After that, I have like a drilling partner that comes down, like a brown belt called David. So we get some not really rounds, but like flow rolling in,
Yeah.
practicing out different techniques for an hour, and then after that I go downstairs do some of the lunchtime rounds, and then that's a good one because there's like a mix of levels. You'll have some white belts like yourself, who I've seen there a couple of times.
Yeah.
There's some like purple belts to get some tough rounds with some brown belts that come down as well. So that's like a great class for me. But that's only like 30 minutes of sparring, maybe 40 minutes. And then I'll go down to my grandma's house. Food is really, really close. I'll make some food, or if there's food there already, I warm up some food. Chill for like an hour or two, and then go back to teach for 2 hours. Normally like two classes. And then on like Monday night's the only really night I train. So then I'll do a bit more training, like probably like an hour and a half. So like Monday's the busiest day. That's like 5 sessions for me.
Yeah.
And like by no means is every day like that. But that's like the best way for me to start my week. Get like some hard sessions in. Make sure I'm a little bit tired,
Yeah.
and then it's like sets a standard for the rest of the week. And then by the time Sunday comes, it's like super super chill.
Yeah. So just have your rest time as well, because obviously that's important too. If you're
100%.
training super hard, then you need to let your body recover and things as well, don't you?
Definitely.
What does your nutrition look like? Like, do you
Um,
diet per se, or do you cut weight, or do you just kind of maintain like a level where you're kind of comfortable?
Yes. So like recently, I've just tried to keep it super steady.
Yeah.
So whenever I'm not competing, I don't want to go over like 1 or 2 kilograms above my weight class.
Yeah.
So I make sure I eat like relatively healthy, and I'll like have some leeway at the end of the day, like after my dinner, to have like some snacks or wherever I like really.
Yeah.
But I'm not super super strict with like sugar or anything.
Yeah.
If I want something, I give myself some leeway. But when competition comes, obviously cut all that stuff out. Maybe like 3 or 4 weeks before, make sure I'm on weight, and then I try not to water cut too much.
Yeah.
Just like maybe cut the calories down. Maybe like 10% less food,
Yeah.
um, less nuts and stuff, which are like super calorie dense.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just try to keep it super simple. Don't overcomplicate it. I don't really track calories or anything,
Yeah.
but just don't overcomplicate it.
Keep it simple. High protein
Mhm.
foods done.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Perfect. And do you compete in no-gi as well, or is it mainly gi that you focused on?
At the moment, mainly gi, but I think after Worlds, I want to do some more no gi comps, especially because like there's not many big gi comps after that.
Mhm.
So there's definitely some time for me to do more no gi. But I've done no gi in the past. I've done like no gi British Open. Like when I've travelled abroad, when I was a bit younger, I've done loads of no gi then. But I definitely want to tap back into the no gi game.
Which do you prefer?
Gi at the moment, but only because I'm better though at gi.
Okay.
But I think no gi is really fun because I think my style is a bit faster anyway. So
Yeah,
having
that
like the
lends into it.
scrambles,
Yeah.
exactly, like, different scrambles, like scrapping with some of the quicker guys as well is like always fun.
Yeah, yeah, because obviously that's part of it. With gi, you can kind of slow things down a little bit, can't you? I suppose with
Mhm.
lapel grips and gripping and taking, but
Exactly,
it's way more scrambly with no gi. Um,
100%.
yeah, is there any other differences that you think between the gi and the no gi? Is one more technical, one more fitness based, one more scrambly? Like, because no gi, you're more MMA based, aren't you, without the striking?
Hmm.
Whereas gi
It's
is
true.
very like technical looking, as you said,
Yes.
getting those grips in.
I would say like no gis definitely involves like more leg attacks and stuff.
Okay, yeah,
And for a while, that's why I didn't really like it because like kids competition, you're not allowed to attack the legs at all.
right,
So going from attacking the legs like is 0% of the time to doing it quite a lot was like a pain for me.
yeah,
So that's why I didn't really like it at the start. But now, because I'm more comfortable with leg attacks, I quite enjoy Nogi. That's like the main difference for me. And then also just the control and stuff. I'm not like particularly good at controlling in general anyway, in the gi. But Nogi, it's a lot harder for me. So I think that's like a good way that Nogi can like help my gi game.
yeah,
Whenever I'm doing Nogi, I have to pay like extra attention to like making sure I'm controlling my partner, hooking the hips tight, controlling the head, and then just by doing that, like translates to my gi game. Definitely helps.
perfect. What about injuries then? Have you ever had any injuries so far? Like, how do you kind of manage your? Because obviously, you're rolling with people, especially if you compete in it. You're going hell for leather. Injuries are kind of common, I suppose,
Mhm.
in being at
Yes.
some point. It's just like the level of extent of injury. So, how do you keep yourself safe, progressing
Mhm.
as an athlete now that's full time? And have there been any injuries?
In like past injuries have been like really limited. There was like one time I was out for like 6 months, but that's like a chronic knee injury.
Okay.
So I took like 6 months off. But that was like no like sudden impact or anything like that. But apart from that, I don't really get injured much. It's always like the little ones that are super annoying. So at the moment I got like two injured toes.
Right.
And you can't really do anything about that, You've got to be sensible. But that's the main thing for me: being sensible, tapping early, making sure I'm not like putting my body under too much stress. And then in the past, whenever I've started aching and I'm fatigued, that's when the injuries start like coming in
Mm.
more. So I just try to stay like a constant level of like, fitness, not going too hard, making sure I'm recovering by getting enough sleep and eating the right foods. But I've been very, very lucky to dodge injuries. So touch wood, touch
Yeah,
wood.
yeah, definitely. Cool. Last question then. What's coming up
Yes.
in the next kind of 6 months, year? What
Mhm.
does the future hold for Iryan? What do you want to kind of accomplish in your jiu-jitsu career, I suppose? So you don't even have to look at the next year. Look at the next 10 years. You're still young. It's disgusting.
Like short term, definitely looking forward to the worlds. That's all I've been focused on really. Like winning the worlds. That's like 6 weeks away.
Yeah.
So that's the short term focus. But long term, just be as good as I possibly can. Try and stay consistent with the train. That's like the main focus for me. Like making sure all the pieces of the puzzle are in the right place, and then the results will just take care of themselves, right? So obviously, I want to be like black belt world champion, but all I'm focusing on now is making sure like this trainer schedule that I'm doing at the moment can stay consistent for the next like 10 years. And then I believe that if I do that, look after my body, making sure I'm not like eating crap all the time,
Yeah.
making sure my mind's in the right place, I balance everything in my life well, then I think if I put all those things together, then the results will take care of themselves. So I just want to, stay consistent with what I'm doing at the moment. And obviously maybe increase it one day, get better at or like level up everything I'm doing at the moment,
Mm.
and then I think maybe one day become black belt world champion. We'll see.
That'd be cool, man. I'm sure it'll happen. What about your coaching goals then? Because obviously you're coaching as well now. So do you want to keep doing with that? Do you want to progress like with your coaching style as well? What is your coaching style? Do you have one yet, or are you kind of still figuring it out a bit? Or
Um, Good question. I think my coaching style is developing at the moment. I'd say with the adults, it's more trying to like pass on the understanding of each position to the other people. Because like at the start, I was just explaining what to do, but then from asking feedback from other people, like from my assistant coaches or people in the class, they've given me like great ideas and stuff. So now I just want to like give context for everything, making sure people actually understand what they're doing. Because that's the difference between like a good coach and an average coach. Like making sure that people understand what they're doing, not just doing it for the sake of it. So that's the main thing. And then with the kids, it's just trying to make the class as fun as possible.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure, well, mainly with the younger ones, that they're going to be doing jiu-jitsu like for the rest of their life.
Sure.
So it's making sure everything they're learning in jiu-jitsu is enjoyable. And that's why it's my favorite part of like jiu-jitsu at the moment. It's like it's so easy to like make something boring in jiu-jitsu a little bit more exciting.
Sure.
So that's the focus. And then long term, that's what I want to be doing for the rest of my life. I don't really see myself competing at 80, but I'd love to be teaching jiu-jitsu at 80, like no matter what capacity that is.
Yeah.
As of now, I'd like to be doing that for the rest of the life. That might change, but coaching is like the main passion for me at the moment.
Amazing. Iryan, thanks, buddy. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
That is all done. I think, we've covered a lot there. So that's awesome.
Yes.
Thank you, buddy. For your first podcast, I hope that was all right for you. I hope you enjoyed it.
That was great.
So, thank you, buddy. I will see you at the gym very soon. And
Awesome.
good luck in the Worlds in 6 weeks, did you say it was?
Yes, 6 weeks.
Whereabouts are they?
California.
Nice.
Yes.
Sunshine, man.
Nice and sunny. Exactly.
Yeah, amazing. Cool. So good luck. I'm sure we'll all be following it. Following you.
Appreciate it, man.
And then, I'll see you at the gym soon, bud. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on, man. That was good fun.
You are very welcome.